14.8 ADC tier list. So what we will do is we will do it on Tactor and we will edit. So this was my 14.7 tier list. Let's tap in, let's lock in here.
Doesn't get better than this.
This is meant for pretty much all elos. Of course, you do have to take it with a grain of salt. This is coming from me, who is a challenger pro player. All of my games are played between either like master, like I've had some games like master diamond, but nearly all of my games are being played in challenger. So my opinion, of course, is going to be aimed more towards challenger than your average bronze or silver player. I don't see how, like, I don't see that many MF, for example, players. I don't see that many Sivir players, which maybe you see more in lower elo. General idea of the tier list is that it will be pretty applicable to all elos, and it's just my thoughts on the champs that are like the easiest to play and the easiest to climb with and the best to climb with. Last patch, if you guys remember, I said Jinx was the queen of solo queue. Big believer in Jinx. I think Jinx is still one of the best solo queue champions. If we have a look at win rates, I do believe that we will still see, it's very early on in the patch though, but we'll still see Jinx #1 at the top. She wasn't touched, none of her items were touched. She's still gonna be the best. Theory, however. Theory, in my opinion, got 2 nerfs over the last 2 patches. 1, Static Shiv got nerfed, which I think is still quite a core item on her. And she got 30 base HP nerfed in this patch. I think now, and I also feel like some of the champions that were decent into her, such as like Xayah and Draven, both got buffed. I think she goes down a tier. I think she goes down to A tier. I don't think she's S tier anymore. That's due to the base HP nerf, due to Xayah getting buffed, due to Draven getting buffed, due to static nerf. Xayah here, I am not sure if I want to actually move Xayah up. I feel like she feels okay. She feels okay. To be fair though, I played her 4 games now. To be fair though, when I didn't buy Eclipse, because Eclipse is now fucking useless. When I didn't buy Eclipse, the game looked like this. Maybe she is pretty strong. I could definitely see an argument that she's pretty strong, but if we look at the win rates, her win rate actually went down from last patch to this patch, which is quite strange, considering it was just a buff. I mean, Draven got buffed, which is good into Xayah, but still, it's like, I think she should still be pretty damn solid. But I feel like she's still top of A tier, and I don't think she can go into S tier. Eclipse is useless now because it only gives 100 shield-ish when it gave 200 shield last patch. It gave the melee values for range champs ever since season 14. I just thought that was how it was intended. Apparently not, because they stealth hotfix nerfed it, and now the item is fucking trash on range champs. It will shield you for barely anything. Do not buy it. Ashe here, I think Ashe still belongs in A tier. I would say she definitely can be moved down a little bit. She just doesn't like have that crazy items. I also feel like Jinx, I'd always pick Jinx over her. I'd probably pick Xayah over her. I'd pick Draven over her. I'd pick quite a few champions over her. She just doesn't have that like hard carry potential that maybe at least I'm looking for. She's pretty easy to play, always going to be useful, and she's a very strong lane bully. So that's why she, like, on every single one of my tier lists, Ashe is usually always A. Just because it's hard to go wrong with Ashe. You should have it, if you play Ashe well, you should have a really good laning phase where you're up like 20 CS, and then you should be able to land some arrows, right? Start some fights, and you have decent agency over the game that wise. It's just not really the power fantasy that I look for in ADCs, and that's why I don't play much Ashe. Like, if you check my Opta probably you won't find a single Ashe game the past few months. I'm just not the biggest Ashe enjoyer personally. So we have Draven. I think Draven is S tier now. His early game went from being like really good to being even fucking better. 5 damage on his Q is so big, it doesn't really matter for the late game, but it just matters a lot for the early game. Because like, let's say you do a trade and you do 4 auto attacks, that's 20 extra damage. That's so fucking much. That's a lot of damage. A lot of champions, they get either OP or weak from 2 AD, you know? And Draven, essentially, you could argue, just got 5 AD, like 5 damage, you know? So I think Draven, really, really strong. He has insane ban rate. It's going to be hard to play him if you want to play him, especially in EU West. If you play on NA or any other server, it's a bit easier. But in EU West, he has 46% ban rate in Emerald Plus. And if you look at Master Plus, nearly 70% ban rate. It's just ludicrous how often this champion is getting banned. Nobody wants to play against him. And I can kind of understand why, to be honest. I can kind of understand why. But like, I think Essence Reaver is the best first item still, and I also think the build that I was talking about earlier, which was like the Korean build, which was like Eclipse, Essence Reaver, Shield Bow, I think that build is dead, because I think Eclipse is just dead on range champs. I do think Essence Reaver first though is still good. I think Collector first is good. I do think though, if you go Essence Reaver, you need to bridge the items. What do I mean by that? Don't buy fucking Warhammer first base. If you buy Warhammer first base, we gotta get you Gallon Beast. That is 20 AD for 1,100 gold. We need to buy Pickaxe first base. We need to buy BF Sword first base. We need to buy some Long Swords first base. We need to get some AD in there so that we can start snowballing. And then once we get our cash in and we can buy like the whole Essence Reaver, that's when we're big and chilling, you know? That's when we're big and chilling. I do also think that collector first item is really solid as well. You have two good options. Can't really go wrong with either. And then after you complete the first one, you just go Infinity Edge into BT or LDR if you need armor pen. Then we got Aphelios. I rated him pretty high last patch, and I think I gotta put him lower in A tier. Maybe even B tier. I mean, no, I think he still belongs in A tier, but for sure lower down. He's just hard to climb on. He's hard to climb on. He's B tier. If I think about how hard it is to win on Aphelios compared to even other champs that I've put into B tier, he's harder to win on.
For builds, you can check out my Aphelios Tactor guide.
Kog'maw, maybe I overrated him slightly last patch. He's definitely solid. Definitely not better than Ashe. I would probably put him lower A tier. Now people are also moving a little bit away from some of the champions that Kog'maw was good into. Like if people start playing more Jhin, if people start playing more Draven, then Kog'maw definitely is a little bit weaker. If people are not just picking Zeri every game, like I think Kog'maw is really free into Zeri. I think Kog'maw falls down a bit. He's a good on-hit option, a really good tanky build, and works really well with enchanters, really good with Lulu, really good with Milio, really good with Braum. I think if you don't have Lulu, Milio, Braum, he's kind of whatever, but if you do, pretty solid. Twitch is pretty OP. I think I slept a bit on Twitch. I think Twitch is top of A tier. Really high win rate for both patches. Can be played both AD and AP. Can be played more of on-hit style, more of crit style. I think just Bork into Hurricane, into IE, into LDR is like the most standard best build most games if you want to go AD. And just has like really good kill threat, has a lot of really good lanes into like Jinx, Seri, Kog'Maw even, I think it's fine. Into Ezreal it's fine, into Jhin it's fine. You just have a lot of decent lanes. Still pretty weak into Kaisa, I'd say, pretty weak into Draven. So there are some champions in the meta that I'd be a bit careful with if I was playing Twitch. You know, worst case, you got a bad matchup. Yo, bees, just roam mid and you get a free kill because these mid laners will not respect your fucking stealth ever. Pretty solid champ. Ezreal, one step down. Left to right matters. I just think he's kind of like whatever. Usually when I play against an Ezreal, I feel like Ezreal now has become more of an early game champ than anything. I feel like now when I play against Ezreal, I'm always thinking that I'm just gonna outscale him. I don't know when that happened, but it just feels like the champion doesn't scale very well. For me, I just don't think he's a huge threat. I think Jhin is kind of taking his spot right now, at least in my champion pool of when I want kind of a champ that's good with Mage spot, when that's good with Enchanter spot, or if I want like a utility ADC and a safe ADC, probably I'd rather go Jhin than Ezreal right now. And then Nilah. Nilah's a very niche champ. She's just really situational. I think she has moments where she's really strong, moments where she's really weak. Really good into heavy auto-attacking teams, really good into low CC teams where she can just dive in and kill people, and has a lot of good pairings in bot lane and good into a lot of immobile ADCs. I think she deserves her tier in A. And then Yasuo benefit a lot of the crit buffs. I think one of his strongest states in bot lane in a while. I feel like he just has a lot of really good matchups. If you're playing like Xayah into Yasuo, that's free win for Xayah. But if you're playing something like Aphelios into Yasuo, that can be a bit harder. If you're playing like Jinx into Yasuo, that's a lot harder. If you're playing like Twitch into Yasuo, that's really hard. There's a lot of like hard matchups into Yasuo that you need to be careful of. Hwei, just the best mage bot by far. Has really good laning phase, dumps a lot of immobile ADCs, just has the best early game out of any mage and works really well in bot lane. If you want to pick up an AP option in bot, I'd definitely recommend Hwei. Really fun champ, really reminds me of Aphelios, but mage instead. I like Hwei a lot. I like Hwei a lot, and I think he's really strong in bot lane. And Vayne, I think Vayne still belongs into B tier. I do think though that maybe she's a little bit more down than I had her previously. Be alongside Aphelios here. I just feel like she doesn't have that great itemization right now. She kind of has to go on hit and doesn't really get to abuse the crit items, and I think crit items are pretty good right now overall. Just don't feel like she has that much value in the meta, and she's better in top lane in general. And Xayah I think is she's in B tier because she's still a bit situational, but she's like by far the most OP champ out of any of the other champs in B tier in my opinion. Because if her conditions are met, if she's into a full dive comp, she's up here, you know? She's S tier. She's S tier by far. She's just Exodia strong. If it's not met, she's kind of meh. She's kind of hard to play. If they have 4 melee champs and a Nilah, bro, you lock in Xayah, and if you don't win that game, maybe League isn't for you, because that's a fucking free win if I've ever seen one. Like, holy shit. If I have a good Xayah game, I just know it's a free win. I know it's a free win. I go 10 CS a minute and I just receive LP. because that's how fucking OP that champion can be if all the conditions are met. Then we have Varus, really good lane bully, really good versatile builds. Maybe I underrated him a little bit, but I think I underrated him because his win rate was really bad. Just looking at such a low win rate, it's hard to really put him any higher, and his win rate is still really bad. I do think he is quite strong though. I think he's viable with both lethality and on hit. I even tried to play him AP, which was interesting. I think B tier though is pretty fair. I think it's pretty fair. I think he just doesn't have like the same upside as some of these other ADCs, doesn't have the same carry potential, and he can be a little bit harder to get a win on compared to these other champs. And then Tristana, better in mid for sure, but still pretty good in bot lane. I think top of B tier serves her pretty well. If she has a good matchup that she can jump in, she can do a lot of work. She can be really OP. If she doesn't though, it's really weak. Reminds me a little bit of Xayah in that if she has her conditions met. The difference is that with Xayah, if she has her conditions met, like Xayah is just gonna farm and then free scale, while Tristana needs to fight. Tristana really needs to fight, and that's her win con. If she can fight and jump in, she can be really OP. Moving on to Jhin. I think Jhin is so fucking good right now. I'm thinking, do I want to put Jhin in S tier? I've played, let's see, how many Jhin games did I play? 2 Jhin games here, 3 Jhin games. Okay, I put 3 Jhin games. And as you can see, in some of them I got really fed. And the champion just felt amazing. The Q buff, it makes it, like the Q buff doesn't sound insane. If we look at the Q buff, it doesn't sound that crazy. 9% more Q80 ratio. How could it be that crazy? But the thing is, there's 2 things you gotta keep in mind. One is that it's total AD, which means that you feel the Q buff from level 1. The second thing is that it makes a huge difference for the item breakpoints that you need to kill caster minutes. That's the biggest thing. The fact that I was able to kill caster minutes so much faster as Jhin than I normally would be able to just felt amazing. And it made it so that I was able to get push easier. I was able to poke the enemy ADC more with Q, and then just the bonus move speed on critical strikes, just 4% more bonus move speed every time you crit. No, thank you, freak. And I think it's reflected in the win rate as well. If we look at Jhin win rate, 14.8 is 52.5%, 40.7, 51.6, jumped up 1%, while also increasing pick rate by a shit ton. He's now one of the most picked ADCs on this patch, right after Kai'Sa, while having a really good win rate. Nearly the same win rate as Jinx. Nearly the same win rate as Jinx. But he is fucking good. He is fucking good. Top of A tier. Top of A tier for sure. I don't think I can put him S tier. Really good buffs. If you are a previous Jhin player or you enjoy playing Jhin, now's the time to get some elo. This is a really good patch for Jhin. People are not playing much tanks, and he's doing a lot of damage. I think just going Stormracer into Infinity Edge, into Rapid Fire, into LDR, that's what I went in my games, and it felt pretty good. You could also go like a lethality build, but it's mostly the crit build that has gotten buffed. As you can see, like the crit builds are the ones that have the best win rates. I think you're just best off going with this, and you're so fucking fast. By the way, it's so fun. You're so fast. And I love playing Jhin and being fast. I think crit builds on Jhin are so much more fun than lethality builds, because you're just a fucking race car, bro. How is it not fun? Yeah, Jhin, top of 8 tier. Top of 8 there. Then we got Senna. Senna didn't receive any changes. Maybe she is a bit weaker though than I maybe previously thought, to be honest. I feel like she's just kind of like whatever. When would I want to play Senna right now? I wouldn't really want to play it into Jhin. Wouldn't want to play it into Draven. Wouldn't want to play it into Jinx. Play it into Kai'Sa. Don't really want to play it into Twitch. Don't really want to play it into Ashe. Could play it into Zeri. It's just a tough sell, isn't it? It's a tough sell to want to play Senna right now. I feel like. I think she's definitely good still fasting. But this is meant to be like, if it's about fasting, she's definitely still A tier, I think. If it's farming Senna, I think she's not doing great right now. You can't really abuse the crit buffs that hard. There's just like not that many champs that I want to play her into right now. So there's never really a moment where I think to myself, wow, Senna would go hard here, you know what I mean? Then Kalista. Kalista is just a poor man's Draven right now. Just Draven does what Kalista does, but so much better. Draven has better scaling, better early game, better gold generation. Kalista has better like objective control, you know, with her rend on Ashe and Drakes. But other than that, Draven owns her right now. Draven owns her. Kalista is what, like, Draven, like, Kalista. Draven wishes. Kalista is what Draven wishes. No. Draven is what Kalista wishes she was. Yes. She's getting owned, okay? She's not that good. So I think middle of B tier fits her well. Caitlyn, same story. Pretty mid, I think. Static got nerfed, which I think isn't the best for her. You probably go Stormracer most game, but Stormracer kind of, it's a fine item, but I don't think it's like crazy, and she's just like, ugh, whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of her right now. I wouldn't really want to play her into most of the things here. Like why would you play Caitlyn when Jinx is the best ADC of all time and Jinx is like good into K? Doesn't really make sense. And TF, this champ is just an abomination. Can you please nerf it, freak? It's so unskilled and stupid. It can be 0-10, but it somehow still gets items because of its stupid gold generation passive. Thank you, freak. Stupid ADC. And then we have Sivir here on the weaker side. On the weaker side for sure. I think this is pretty fair. I think this is pretty fair. Just don't think she's got that much gas in her. Doesn't really do much, does she? She just farms waves and then waits until the game's over. And then Lucian, good with Milio, good with Braum, good with Nami. Seraphine. Seraphine is kind of useless. I think like Seraphine is kind of useless. Would I put her into C tier though? I just feel like if someone is like losing to Seraphine in current patch, nah, I think we put her into C tier. Seraphine gets a demotion. Ziggs stays where he is. He's like a fine mage. And I think Misfortune gets a promotion. I think I underrated Misfortune a little bit. She's a very good low elo stomper. Very easy to play, has a good laning phase. I think she deserves her spot in B tier. Can be played with lethality. It can be played with crit, with Kraken. Both are viable. I think lethality is better in most games, unless they have a lot of tanky boys. And also with lethality, you're playing more about your ult, while with it, you're playing about your auto attacks and Qs. Overall, I think really good low elo pick. Gets worse and worse the higher up you go in elo. Overall, a solid pick. I think she deserves to be B tier. And then Smolder. Smolder got some fine buffs, and he's not insanely bad. He's pretty bad. He's pretty bad. He is one of the worst ADCs. For sure he's one of the worst ADCs. Much you're gonna get out of playing Smolder. Pretty weak, very weak early game. Not Exodia late game as he was on previous patches. You're just playing a champion that's weak through most stages of the game, and then you become fine once you get your execute, which is kind of sad because I really enjoyed the infinite stacking mechanic of Smolder. I just think they need to make the champion more skilled, honestly. I think the champion has very little skill expression apart from stacking. And if they want it to be a viable champ, I think they need to make it more skill intensive and more interesting of a champion. It's very much a stat stick. That's what I feel like it is, and very stupid to play against. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it for the 14.8 ADC tier list. Not that many changes. I think biggest thing is Draven up, Jhin up, Kai'Sa up, Zeri down, and also MF up for me, and I think Twitch is really good. I underrated Twitch, overrated Kog'Maw a little bit. I think if you want to climb right now and you're not the Draven one trick, then just playing Jinx, Jhin, and Kai'Sa would be my go-to if I were you. If you are a big Draven player, then just picking Draven whenever it's open, and then having a backup ADC, something like a Kai'Sa, Jhin, or Jinx in your pool when Draven is banned, because you'll need to have a backup when Draven is banned, because that champion is banned perma. Leave it a like if you liked it. Forgot Samira? Oh shit, I forgot Samira. Samira. Where the fuck did I put Samira then? B tier, no? I think low B tier. Samira is pretty weak early, has the snowball, not that many good matchups. He's really good in the scenario where enemy team is really low CC, really squishy, and you have a Renata or Rel. Then Samira is A tier, I think. In most games, you will have a Lulu, you'll have a Sona, you'll have a Nautilus, you'll have a Blitzcrank, you'll have a Thresh. You will not have the perfect support, and if you do have the perfect support, if you have the Rel, but if they have a Volibear or a Renekton, you don't want Samira anymore. You want something else. That's the problem with Samira. She just needs too many conditions to be met to be really good. If she does have those conditions met though, then she can be good, but most games that's just not gonna happen.